Good evening, everybody. I just finished the mids test between the Aeolus and the HD700. It turned out to be a little bit more than 30 minutes, which is somewhat problematic. So, this is a summary of my findings. Ultimately, here's what it boils down to. The HD700 is an airy, open, rather resolving headphone, but that makes it sound as if the Aeolus isn't resolving. That's not true. My test from today showed that the Aeolus and the 700 seem to have the same type of resolution to the sound, but just a different way of presenting it. It's an odd characteristic to have to deal with when you're dealing with two very different types of headphones. The Aeolus is smooth, and it has remained smooth from the very beginning of our testing parameters. The thing that the Aeolus does that the 700 doesn't is that it provides a significantly more intimate, more warm presentation. It's not airy, it's not wide, it doesn't provide any verticality, or at least not a whole lot of verticality. And the vocals are just smooth as silk, no matter what I throw at them. However, there are occasions when I can't hear the separation in the vocals as well as I can hear the separation in the 700. There are a couple of songs on my test playlist that showed that the 700 was able to eke out a little bit more definition between the multiple vocalists, that I could hear a slight hesitation where they're not exactly in tune, and I couldn't find the same type of resolution, the same type of detail in the Aeolus. It was harder to pick apart the micro-detailed separation of vocalists. That being said, the overall tonality is very unique. The 700 has more energy on the top end, and it has more airiness, which sometimes tends to show the vocalist as more lean instead of having all that meaty goodness to the vocal in the mid-range. These are all amorphous terms that I'm telling you. So let me try to put it in slightly more concrete methods. Let's say you have a baked potato, and you take your baked potato and you put a little bit of butter on it, just a little bit, just a tiny bit of butter, and then you eat your baked potato. It's a pretty lean baked potato. I mean, you got the stuff in there, right? You got the potato, but all you have is the butter, and it sounds good. It tastes good enough, but you're missing the salt, the pepper, the fixins, the cheddar cheese. If you use cheddar, I use better cheese than that. And it doesn't really have that baked potato sensation. Compare that to having your baked potato and putting on a good glob of butter. Then you season it just perfectly, and you put on all the fixins, the cheese, and you're using the good cheese, and you're putting on veggies and a little bit of meat, and now you have this giant, huge baked potato. In those terms, you have a lean potato, baked potato, and then you have a really meaty baked potato. That's the extreme analogy. The HD700 provides you the substance of the song, right? It gives you the details that are present in the song for the most part. And it provides that airiness in the song. But that airiness, with that airiness comes with a little bit of stretching of the vocal frequency, I would say. That's the best way for me to really explain it, where it just doesn't have the same type of impact, that warmth the Aeolus provides. This, I think, just always boils down to one factor. The Aeolus is simply a categorically, undeniably, demonstrably more closed-off headphone than the 700. One of the songs we tested tonight had a female vocalist, and that female vocalist sounded like she was singing inside her bedroom closet, and I was standing outside the closet listening to her. That was the sensation I got on the Aeolus. Listen to the same song on the 700, and it sounded as if I'm standing outside in an open field and I'm listening to the vocalist. Very different types of sensations. How do you choose between these two if you're looking for vocal-centric headphones? Well, that comes down to your preference. Do you prefer to have a headphone that has slightly more separation in the vocalist, more energy in the top end, and more airiness? Or do you prefer a closed off, intimate, warm, and silky smooth sound signature? It's hard to compare things that are demonstrably different, apples and oranges. Which one do you like more, apples or oranges? Well, you may have a preference. You may like oranges, in which case, pick the 700. Or you may like apples. Great, pick the Aeolus. But you can't combine the two and say, I want that headphone. A combination of these type, an intimate experience and an open-sounding headphone with air, hard to do. Not impossible, just really, really hard to do. Do you prefer to have a relaxed, smooth listening experience? If your answer is yes, then I strongly suggest that you consider the Aeolus for mid-frequency between these two. But if you prefer to have that airiness and the separation and the top end energy, then the 700. This is ultimately, at the end of the day, your decision about the type of tonality you like. If you've never heard an open, airy headphone, then the HD700 would be an excellent headphone to try, especially since now people are trying to offload them on eBay for about $350. But if you want something that is intimate and smooth as silk, and you've never heard a silky smooth headphone, then golly, the only one that I can really think of at this point is the Aeolus, the smoothest, silkiest headphone I have yet heard. Bottom line, the mids comparison could not be more different in sound signature. As far as the separation and the resolution goes, I think they're more alike than they are different, and the differences that do exist may just be rather small. And in some differences that I pointed out in my longer video might just have been my imagination, and it's really hard to tell when you're looking so very, very close at the details to try to find the separation. And if you try that hard to find a separation in something, you might actually succeed. Not because it's there, but because you really want to find it. I hope this has been of some help. I hope that you enjoy the longer video that has the entire playlist, that we go through a number of songs. And if not, hey, this is a shorter version of my conclusion. The next test we're going to do is the treble test, the comparison between the Aeolus and the 700. Have a wonderful night.